Welcome back to episode 8 of the Railroads Online track building tutorials. Today we are up at the logging camp and I've done a little bit of tree clearing here so that you can see where the ground is up here and where it's flat and where it's not, so that we can pick the best possible routes to get down from up on top of this little hill that it's on. Now we'll have a little bit of a survey around first, and we'll come over here to the northeastern side, and this is where most people seem to try and build up. And as you can see, it's not very flat over here, and there's not very many good places to get your line into the logging camp. We'll come up over this little bit of a rise, and there's this little valley running down the middle. And as you can see, it's pretty steep once you get up the valley. And if we head around the north side, again, it is very rough terrain over through here. And I see a few people try and put their lines in here on the northern side. And it's quite a steep little spot to try and get up onto this flat area. And you've got a massive flat area, but not at the eastern end, at the western end of the logging camp. So this is the obvious place where you would try and put all your switches to get to the different, to line into the different cranes. And of course, right at the west side is surrounded by mountains. And we'll skip up into third person view so we can get a better look. And again, as we come to the south side, it's all still flat. There is a massive flat area here to build on the southwestern side. And the south side again is surrounded by mountains. But if we come around, and you can sort of see it as we get closer, as we come into the southwest spot, there's a low spot right in front of where I'm running. And it sort of comes down along here as a flat spot. And this is the obvious place to run your track up through. You can see it there. We'll get down nice and low, and there is a low spot, and it is right here. You can probably hear it in the sounds. There's actually a sound file here for trees chopping. So what we'll do in this little spot is, this is the spot we actually want to aim at when we're coming out. So we'll grab a switch and just drop a switch here, because that flag is very easy to see when you're a distance away from it. So yes, we want to try and come out the back side of there and come back round onto there. Here to this switch. And then once you stand here, you can actually see there is a smooth drop off as you run round the south and then the east side of the valley to get down there to the level ground at the bottom on the plain. So that's where we'll put our in and out line to the logging camp. And now we'll cover how to get your rail set up so that it is centre of the cranes. And this is the first place that you'll build at cranes at, is at the logging camp. So to start off with, we'll pull out our usual little ramp so that we can get a height up off the ground. We don't want to be up too high. A little bit will do. And from here we'll take a sample at about that height. We'll go all the way to the end. So somewhere about there. That's giving us a height past the front. Now we'll delete the ramp we put down so we don't accidentally take a sample from it. Now, to get your track to line up, you can select the groundworks tool so you can see we're ready to put down groundworks. activate the crane and drop the item on the ground. Now where the item lands, we'll sort of line up here and mark center, and we'll mark that point there. Now we'll come down here to the second crane, activate the second crane and get down here ready. And where it drops on the ground, we can get a second point of reference. Now that's where we need to line the track along on that direction. Now we'll repeat the process for each one of the cranes. And it'll be about here. We need to mark where the length of the log. About there. So that gives us that drop zone of where that fits. The log will land between there and centre of these two edges of the stone wall. And we'll do the same again for this crane. And activate the crane. And it's there to about there. Okay, now once we've got these areas marked out in a bit of groundworks, we can now start to put some track in. And this is easiest to do with some decking rail, and we'll grab a piece from back here, and we want to try and align a little bit sticking over each edge of the stone wall edging. I reckon we got it pretty much center, and that spline, and connect another one on there. And again, we want to try and get, and this is not going to be possible because we've actually put the first piece in too close to the others, so we'll delete that first bit that ran underneath so that we can get it easier to line up onto this section here. And again, we'll try and get it center of the track by looking at either edge and how far it sinks into the ties. And we'll do it one more time. And this last piece we put in should be straight to the section we put down, so we will delete the first two. And from this one we will put a cross track in. Now this should be parallel to the cranes. We'll put another bit of track out there. And some extra groundworks out that way. Parallel along, and I'm actually going to build it right to the end of the section where it showed that was where the logs would land. I'll put another cross track here on the end, and now we can delete everything here out of the middle. And this has got our starting point. We can now put the rails in where we want them to go. And we're going to make this in sections a set length apart. We want to make the first one the length of where the log would land, and then a little tiny short section in the middle here, and then again to the end of the second log, and end the spline. Put another cross track on the end. Okay, now we'll double check it, and let's see whether or not our logs land on top of the rail nice and center. And I reckon that's pretty good. We'll try this one. And you'll do the same thing at every industry that's got a crane. I think it's better that you lose one or two items to get the track in the right place than having the whole area built, and then realizing that you got your track in the wrong place in front of the crane. Now from here we'll build out with a normal track heading to the west. And we might end it there because we'll start our curve because we're going to go around that way and down. Okay, now this section here in the center, we're actually going to put in with, and actually we'll delete the rail at the middle because it's only a single segment. We want to put in with decking rail. That way you have a piece of decking rail and you can see that easily to know whether or not the rail car is covering that piece of decking rail. And when the rail car is covering the piece of decking rail, you'll know that the log will land on that piece of decking rail and nowhere else. And we'll do the same thing with this one. And you can see when we drop a log on it, it will only cover where that decking rail is. And we've got about a 3 to 4 foot leeway between the rail cars where you can stop with the coupler here in the middle to have it not load on the wrong rail car. And we'll remove that little bit out of the section because it kind of does weird ties when it's in the middle, and that's spaced the ties out a little bit better there in the middle. And now off this end here, we don't want to try and go straight, we actually want to curve it around to try and stay on the flat area here and come back around that side to have a loop in there. Oh, we need to get rid of that. So we'll do our fan that we normally do so that we've got nice level area to build the track on. The other reason why you put a corner in after the cranes is it's actually easier to see where you're stopping when you're playing single player. When you're around a corner and say you've got 10 to 12 rail cars behind the loco, it makes it easier for you to see when you've stopped at the right spot. So we are going to need to put a switch in here somewhere because we need to bring in the line that runs past the cordwood cranes in on the same line. And to work out where that's going to go will depend on where this corner fits in at. We'll get rid of the track that's in the middle of the switch first. And yeah, like every other corner, we will ease into the corner to start off with a 5. And then we can step up to the maximum that we want in our yards, which was 25. Start running the corner around. But we have run out of room. Did not make the groundworks long enough, so you delete the last segment of rail you put down, and we'll put down some more groundworks. Again, from this point we'll just fan it out. Now we can pick up building where we were on this corner by connecting across the previous segment. back up to 25. And continue to place down segments. And look, and we want to go a little bit past a quarter of a turn. We're just going to have to end it there because we've run out of groundworks again. Let's put a little bit more groundworks down. You could make these corners a little bit tighter. You could get them up to about 33 degrees before they start to be too tight and your rail cars start clipping. I'm just being safe because I like to go a little bit quicker, and you can be a little bit safer with a little bit more of an open corner. Back round to 25 again. And I reckon that's gotten us far enough around. We'll put the one more on the end. And then delete the last one off. We want to connect a switch here on its turnout. Which means you want the other track coming in from the left side. And this will be the line that comes in from the cordwood side. Oh, wrong one. Delete the switch first. And we just need one for the length. Switch that cross track. And now we can put the final one in, and we want to have the switch on the right hand side, the switch down on the right hand side, but we want the turnout on the right hand side as well, so that one. So this track will run around down here and around to the cordwood side. And we'll get rid of the cords from starting off our spline. We will rebuild this corner again over the top and then delete this original one, because this is 4 splines to get round to there, and we only need to have 1 spline on that section. So it can save us some CPU by removing it, and we'll remove this last rail. And there we go, this is the area set up, ready to accept logs onto the rail cars. Nice smooth corner out. So while we're off screen, so before the next episode, I will put in this side, built exactly the same way as what I did for the logs, except these will only be shorter pieces of decking rail to mark where the crane will drop the cordwood at, and curve it around here to meet back up onto that track there. And then in the next episode, we'll build the switches at the western end, which connect everything back together into the line that runs out back to the sawmill. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.